Occult and Qabalistic Symbolism from the Tarot, a short treatise on reading cards by S.L. MacGregor Mathers. Before concluding this short treatise, I will say a few words on the occult and Qabbalistical signification of these wonderful tarot cards. It has been long known that the ordinary 52-card pack was susceptible of some peculiar numerical significations. For example, 52 cards in the pack suggest 52 weeks in the year, 13 cards in each suit suggest 13 lunar months in the year, 13 weeks in the quarter, 4 suits in the pack suggest 4 seasons in the year, 12 picture cards in the pack suggest 12 months in the year, 12 signs of the zodiac. Furthermore, if we add together the pips on the plain cards of the suits, 220, the pips on the 12 picture cards, 12 picture cards reckoned as 10 each, 120, the number of cards in each suit, 13, we obtain the number of days in the year, 365, there's 366 in some years. But that's part of the secret of the full card, right? Is that one of the things that hinted at with that one? But concealed behind their apparent arbitrary and bizarre designs, the tarot cards contain a far more complicated system of recondite symbolism. We find the number 10 multiplied by the mystical number 4 and combined with a primitive hieroglyphic alphabet of 22 letters. Eliphas Levi says in his Histoire de Magie, the absolute hieroglyphical sense had for its basis the alphabet, of which all that were considered to be gods were letters, all the letters ideas, all the ideas numbers, and all the numbers perfect signs. Eliphas Levi says it is Histoire de Magic, the hieroglyphical alphabet of which Moses made the great secret of his Kabbalah, and which he retook from the Egyptians, for according to the Sefer Yetzirah, it came from Abraham. Yeah, well, there was 30 letters, and then there was some variations down to 22, so. But we can also say the Yazidi drew importance to number 21, and 21 are the paths between the 7 planets. When you connect each of them together, you can have, again, one to the rest of the universe and one to the Earth, making 23, but the 21 in between each other, that's a whole something else. This alphabet, we say, is the famous book of designs, suspected by Court de Gebelin to be preserved to the present time under the form of that peculiar pack of cards, which he called the tarot. Well, okay, there's something about that, though. There was a time where it seemed like every alphabet had some sort of mystical significance or use to it. The 10 numbers and 22 letters are what are called in the Kabbalah the 32 paths of science, and their philosophical description is the subject of that primitive and revered work known as the Sefer Yetzirah, which is still to be found in the collection of Pistorius and others. The alphabet of designs is the original of our tarot, only in an altered form. The tarot which we have is of Jewish origin, and the types of the figures cannot be traced further than the reign of Charles VI. Well, perhaps not in that combination, but the ancient Egyptians and pretty much every ancient North African people and by southern I mean like below the Hindu Kush Himalayan, and probably the Hindu Kush Himalayan people, these sets of symbols and stuff existed, just not in the pack that we call the tarot. The Sefer Yetzirah referred to in the above quotation has been recently translated by my friend W. Wine Westcott, which is a successful and erudite Kabbalistical student, so that it can now be read in English. It certainly gives, in my opinion, the Kabbalistical key of the tarot, and shows at once, by evident analogy, the ancient and religious origin of its bizarre symbolism. It consists of 33 short sections, the 33rd being merely recapitulatory, divided into 5 chapters and elucidated by 32 occult paragraphs called the Paths. In fact, it may be called a treatise on the 10 and the 22. The numbers from 1 to 10 are said to symbolize the spirit, air, water, fire, height, depth, east, west, north, south. The 22 letters are divided into 3 mother letters, A, M, Sh, referring to air, water, and fire. 7 double letters, B, G, D, K, P, R, Th. Well, not the, but P, P. In Hebrew, it's maybe Th, but P. It's, that Tau, referring to the 7 planets, etc., and 12 simple letters, H, V, actually W, Z, Ch, Th. It says T here, but it says E here, but Y, L, N, Th. It says O here, but it's A, Tz. Can also be H, K, referring to the 12 signs of the zodiac, etc. Christian, the disciple of Levi, in his recent work on magic, has made the explanation of the 22 hieroglyphs of the tarot from part of the initiatory ceremonies of the Egyptian mysteries of Krata Rapoa. And the Church of Hermetic Sciences has republished, is that the document that they republished, or is it a different one? But yeah, they go into that, and it's an interesting system. It doesn't seem to be an authentic Egyptian mystery thing, except maybe Middle Ages or something. The symbols of 3 of the 22 trumps of the tarot were thus restored by Eliphas Levi. 7, the chariot, a cubical chariot with 4 columns, surmounted by an azure and star-decked canopy. Within the chariot and between the 4 columns stands a conqueror, crowned with a circlet, from which rise and shine 3 pentagrams of gold. On his cuirass are 3 right angles, and on his shoulders the Urim and the Thummim, which are pronounced Harim wa Hatumim, symbolized by the 2 crescents of the moon in increase and decrease. Also, note that there's 16 symbols that you work through, 8 on each side when you work with that, because you're working with fluorite crystals that have dots, as you are say, but they were chlorite crystals, but there's traditions about the dots. So, in his hand is a scepter surmounted by a globe, a square, and a triangle. His attitude is proud and tranquil. To the chariot is attached a double sphinx, or rather 2 sphinxes joined together. One of the turns its head, and they both look in the same direction. The sphinx which turns its head towards the other is black and menacing, the other is white and calm. On the square which forms the front of the chariot, we see the Indian lingam surmounted by the flying globe of the Egyptians. The Wheel of Fortune. A wheel of 7 spokes. The cosmogonical wheel of Ezekiel, with a dog headed figure ascending on one side, Anubis, the Egyptian Mercury, and a demon descending the other, the Egyptian evil entity Typhon. well, that would be the sulfur. The former of these bears a caduceus, the latter a trident. Both figures are bound to the wheel. Above them is a sphinx, at the balance point of the wheel, holding a drawn sword between its lion's claws. So that thing is salt. The devil, throned on a cube above the universe, is a goat-headed satyr-like figure, bearing on its brow the pentagram, apex upward, so as to make it a symbol of light. With one hand it points upward to the symbol of the moon in increase, with the other downwards, so that of the moon is in decrease, thus symbolizing the eternal equilibrium of mercy and justice. The first two fingers and thumb of each hand are extended, as in giving the sign of benediction. One arm is feminine, the other masculine. The torch of intelligence is placed between its horns as the magical light of the universal equilibrium. The caduceus, which holds the place of the generative organs, signifies the eternity of life. The belly is covered with scales to represent water. The circle above it is the atmosphere. The wings are the emblem of the volatile and the deformed, and the goat-like feet rest upon the earth. Space does not allow me to enter further into the subject, on which indeed several volumes might be written without exhausting it. I can only hope that this short treatise will suffice to give my readers some idea of the recondite meaning of the tarot cards, and how to employ them in divination. And by divination, we mean spiritual thought form thinking. But see, the of course, there's a reprinting, and I'm not sharing the reprinting here. And the thing is that it has the Marseille deck, which, as you see, is not how it's spelled. Well, I mean, it is how it's spelled, but Marseille is how you see it's pronounced by people who speak French. So, yeah,